A lot of people out there try to wear their perfectionism as some sort of badge of honor, something that they're proud of. One example of this, you're at a job interview, and when the interviewer asks, "What's your biggest weakness?" you tell them that your biggest weakness is being a perfectionist, in hopes that it actually comes across as some sort of an asset. The reality, of course, is that it doesn't actually serve you in the way that you might think it does. It's obviously a great thing to be and do your best, but the problem with perfectionism is that, since it's a destination that can't really ever be reached, it ends up just being this fruitless mission that can keep us indefinitely spinning our wheels instead of getting us to where we want to go. So ultimately, perfectionism isn't something that springs us forward. It actually just holds us back. So here is what you can do about it. My name is Rachel Harrison-Sund, and I help people generate passive income creating and selling journals, planners, notebooks, and more on the Kindle Direct Publishing platform. If that sounds cool to you, please hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell, and that way you'll be notified every time one of these videos gets published every single Monday. So we all basically know the definition of perfectionism, the continuous striving for perfection, but it's easy to be unaware of, the harsh self-criticism and fear of failure that lies at the heart of it. Now, in terms of how it manifests itself, often that's by doing too much. So, picture the working mom who also volunteers for the PTA and the local community center and the church, all with a great big smile on her face, barely concealing the completely exhausted and neglected human being underneath. Or it might manifest as endless tweaking. This is the one that I relate to the most, where, whatever it is you're working on never actually sees the light of day because you just need to spend just a little bit more time getting it just right. Or sometimes it manifests itself as procrastination. You're so afraid of the end result of your labor being anything less than a total 10 out of 10 that you avoid spending any time on it at all. Or it can even manifest itself as, you never even getting started on something because you don't want to spend so much as a second on something that might not be a slam dunk. Now, the end result of perfectionism is never, ever perfection. The end result of perfectionism is wasted time, stalled projects, exhaustion, disempowerment, unrealized potential, harsh self-criticism leading to, anxiety or sometimes even depression. So what do? First things first, you got to focus on progress, not perfection. You've got to actively stop seeking to make perfection your desired outcome. And to do this, you've got to admit to yourself first that perfection is illusory. It doesn't exist. Now, another way to look at this is by shifting your focus from the outcome onto the process. When you stop worrying about the outcome, you're then not only free to actually enjoy the process, imagine that, but this weird paradox occurs where because you're focusing on the process and not the outcome, your process improves and then so does your outcome, even though that's not actually where your focus was. Secondly, this is very important, you've got to give yourself permission to suck. This one was so huge for me, seriously, it was a game changer. There have been so many interests that I never even bothered trying because I was so afraid of not being good at it. And then when I started my own business, there were just simply things that I couldn't avoid doing because they were a major part of my business operations. I used to get such severe anxiety over doing these things. I would literally experience panic attacks. So quick example was when I first started doing live videos and webinars. I was so self-conscious about my ability to speak in front of others because I just didn't really have a ton of public speaking experience. I'd done presentations and things like that in front of groups, as in my old job as an art director. But speaking to 400 complete strangers on a live webinar made me feel so vulnerable. I felt like I had to come across as this seasoned pro who had been doing it for ages, and I had to be entertaining and I had to be engaging, and I put so much pressure on myself. The day before that first live webinar, I literally was laying in bed crying, absolutely certain that I would have a public meltdown in front of 400 people. It went totally fine, by the way. I felt very anxious doing it, very uncomfortable. I probably had pit stains down to my waist afterward, but I did not lose control the way that I thought I would. The fact of the matter is, when you're first starting out at anything, you are going to suck, unless it's something that's, inherently super easy. You can't really escape the beginning stages of anything. It's just baked into the cake. So you've got to accept it as an inevitable part of the process and then give yourself permission to fumble. I did this, when I first started my channel too. I'm a total introvert. I absolutely hate being in front of the camera. I was scared I'd look like a total idiot. And I ended up watching a few videos about how to start a channel. And one person, I can't remember who, mentioned that your first 1 or even 200 videos are going to suck. So I gave myself permission to absolutely suck for my first 100 videos. This is actually my 89th video, by the way, so even now, I'm still giving myself permission to suck. And let me tell you, it helped. It took the pressure off. All I had to do was show up, make something, not worry about the outcome, and I get 100 tries to get it right. So same thing when doing those live videos and webinars. That is really what got me to do them, even though I'd been, crying in my bed the day before. I gave myself permission to suck. It was still, like I said, extremely uncomfortable. I could barely breathe, I felt like, doing it, but just knowing that it didn't have to be perfect and that it could actually suck, I didn't have to pretend to be someone that I wasn't yet. I didn't have to pretend to be this, seasoned pro. I allowed myself to fumble over my words. It really didn't matter. I even put a little bit of a little sticky note on my laptop telling myself that, I didn't have to be anyone else other than who I am right now. And it really, really helped. Permission to suck, I think, has helped me move forward in this side of my business, maybe more than anything else, because the mistakes just simply don't matter anymore. Now, the third thing, this is a tactic, and that is to give yourself deadlines. Deadlines are so essential for me. Otherwise, I'll waste years just like screwing around with something, trying to get it right. And then like my whole life will be over. And that's not really an exaggeration. Lots of people literally do waste their entire lives, or, to be a little bit more charitable, waste their full potential just by never pulling the trigger on the things that they claim they want to do. But deadlines hold you accountable to get stuff out the door and moving, whether you think that they're sufficiently ready or not. So when you begin a project, so for example, low content book that you're working on, give yourself a deadline, make it a reasonable deadline, make it sure that it's something that actually works with your life, but give yourself a deadline. When that deadline comes, the book gets published. And you don't get to spend another 4 hours or another 4 days or 4 weeks tweaking it. Then you just take what you've learned and you apply it to the next book. This allows you to make progress much, much more quickly and learn a lot faster. So another example, this is what I did when I launched my course, my Low Content Profits Academy. I was working on sales pages. They really were not up to my design standards. Like, I'm a professional designer, in my old career, art director. So I'm used to getting things to a really polished level visually. These things were butt ugly, but guess what? My webinar was set to start and I just simply didn't have the time to polish them up the way that I really wanted to do it. My business couldn't just grind to a halt and wait it out while I fussed over fonts and images for my sales pages for God knows how long. And I knew that I could just get them out there, iterate. Ultimately, it didn't matter as long as the functionality was there. And guess what? 2 years later, those sales pages, they're still not that great because I've just been focusing more on what's actually going to move the needle in my business. Now, imagine if I'd never launched my course because I couldn't stop nitpicking with the sales pages. And it's not just my sales pages, it's my website, it's my YouTube thumbnails. It's like everything is a little bit on the ugly side right now. But I know that these are things that I can just improve slowly over time while my main focus remains on what counts. And what counts is creating useful content for you. Done is better than perfect. Okay, those are 3 ways that hopefully can help yourself overcome your perfectionism. I really hope that helps. If you're here because you need help starting your low content publishing business, download my free guide, 3 steps to publishing your first low content book in less than a day. And if you're looking for more mindset videos, check out this one right here next. It is the 3 mindset shifts that will change your life. They definitely changed mine. Please hit the like button if you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.